HMS Warspite, one of the 5 completed Queen Elizabeth-class battleships, in which she would go on to have a long and storied career in the Royal Navy. Warspite would participate in some of the most important battles of the First and Second World Wars. When the class was being designed, the Anglo-German naval arms race that preceded World War I was in full swing. The British wanted a ship that would put them over the edge when it came to battleship design, so they gave the Queen Elizabeth class cutting-edge technology. Firstly, they used oil instead of coal as fuel. Along with that, they were given 15-inch guns, a very substantial change from the 13.5-inch guns the British were using previously, and something the Germans could not match in their high seas fleet. I've decided to split the video into 2 parts because I wanted to be able to give the ship proper attention. The Queen Elizabeth class, or QEs, were designed to be fast battleships. For the 1910s, they were very quick, but as time went on, even with refits, they were just not as quick as other more modern capital ships. Which, to clarify, I'll be calling Warspite just a battleship for the video. Anyway, moving on to something more exciting, Warspite's design. Her initial displacement was 33,110 tons standard displacement and 33,790 tons full load. She would have 24 Euro boilers that would produce around 75,000 shaft horsepower that drove 4 shafts, meaning that she hit a real top speed of 24 knots. However, she was intended to hit a top speed of 25 knots, but could not do so. Her armament consisted of 4 twin 15-inch guns, or 381mm guns, with 2 turrets superfiring forward and 2 aft. Her secondary battery consisted of 14 single 6-inch or 152mm guns, along with 2 single 3-inch or 76mm AA guns, along with 4 torpedo tubes. Her armor was certainly tough, with a belt of 13 inches or 330mm, a deck between 1 and 3 inches or 25 and 76mm thick, along with her turrets having between 11 and 13 inches of armor, or 279 and 330mm. She would be laid down in October 1912, launched in November 1913, and commissioned to the Royal Navy in March of 1915. Following her trial, she joined the 2nd Battle Squadron of the Grand Fleet in April of 1915, in which she impressed the First Lord of the Admiralty, Winston Churchill, with her firepower and accuracy. Later on in 1915, she ran aground in the River Forth, which definitely would not be her last time doing something which would cause damage to the ship. She was forced to undergo repairs in Rosyth and Jarrow. When she rejoined the Grand Fleet, she would be put into the new 5th Battle Squadron, which was specifically created so all the QEs could be in one battle squadron together. Now, while in a training exercise in December of 1915, Warspite got herself into trouble again when she collided with her sister ship, HMS Barham, which heavily damaged Warspite's bow. But she was back with the 5th Battle Squadron by Christmas Eve. Along with the 5th Battle Squadron, she would continue to train for an eventual battle with the German High Seas Fleet, which would come at the Battle of Jutland on May 31st, 1916. After a German raid in April of 1916, Warspite and the rest of 5th Battle Squadron were assigned to Admiral Beatty's battlecruiser force. On May 31st, Warspite along with 5th Battle Squadron were deployed to the Battle of Jutland. During the battlecruiser action, which was the initial contact between the High Seas Fleet and the Grand Fleet with their battlecruisers, Warspite and the rest of 5th Battle Squadron were left trailing behind Admiral Beatty's battlecruisers due to a signaling error which exposed them to heavy fire from the German ships, in which Warspite scored her first hit on the battlecruiser Von der Tann. The 5th Battle Squadron headed north. They exchanged fire between German battlecruisers and battleship squadrons. When joining up with the Grand Fleet, Warspite was struck by a shell that ended up hitting her port wing engine room, causing her steering to jam, which caused her to go around in circles. This made her an enticing target for the German capital ships. After a time, Warspite's crew regained control over the ship. Warspite had not had it bad enough by this point in the battle. Her rangefinders and transmission station were non-functional, and only one turret could fire. Because of this and other issues, she was stopped for 10 minutes so the crew could make repairs. They were successful in correcting the steering, but she would continue to have issues with it throughout her career. As night came and the Grand Fleet crossed ahead of the High Seas Fleet battle line and opened fire against them, it allowed Warspite to slip away. However, as she was making her way to Rosyth for repairs, she was tailed by a German U-boat that fired torpedoes at her, all of which missed. Later she attempted to ram a surfaced U-boat, but after that, there were no more encounters, and she made it into dock, which she would spend 2 months in for repairs. The rest of the war for Warspite would consist of her running into other ships and attempts to catch the High Seas Fleet, along with another several-month-long stint in dry dock due to a boiler room fire. She would be present while the Grand Fleet led the German High Seas Fleet into internment following the signing of the armistice. Following the end of the war, she would join the newly created Atlantic Fleet and make regular trips in the Mediterranean, and was present for the Royal Fleet Review at Spithead in 1924. She would undertake a partial modernization that year, in which it altered her superstructure by combining her two funnels into one, along with that enhancing her armor with torpedo bulges and increasing her anti-aircraft battery, and removing half her torpedo battery. In 1926, she would become the flagship for the Mediterranean fleet. Her next couple of years were pretty mundane, with occasional collisions with other ships and striking uncharted rocks. However, in 1934, she would undergo a refit that would last for 3 years, and essentially create a new ship with how modern she would be. Starting with the ship's propulsion, she would have her 24 Euro boilers replaced with geared turbines that only required 6 boilers. This would increase the fuel efficiency greatly and give the ship a top speed of 24 knots with 80,000 shaft horsepower. Around 1,118 tons of armor were added, which added armor forward of A turret in the boiler rooms, as well as increasing armor for the magazines and machinery spaces. Along with that, she had her armament changed. Her remaining torpedo tubes were removed. Along with that, the 6-inch guns had their armor reduced, and 4 guns were removed on each side from the fore and aft ends of the battery. Her anti-aircraft battery was increased, with 8 4-inch guns added along with 2 octuple pom-poms, along with 50 caliber machine guns. Her main battery was improved through changing the elevation of the guns, which added an additional 9,000 yards of range to those guns. Her fire control systems were also upgraded. She was also equipped to carry 4 float planes, but typically would only carry 2. After this refit, she would spend several years back in the Mediterranean, and would be there when the Second World War broke out. And this is where I'll leave it until the second part. I hope you enjoyed watching. Please remember to like and subscribe, as it will help the channel to grow.